1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Good morning, good morning. I think we should all move to the front. We are about to begin. Good morning, good morning. More seats in front, please. Good morning. So, Mr. LB, I'll take cue from you. I'll take a cue from you if I should start. Sure, okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm not sure if the guys on my far right can hear me. I can't see. Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Oyama Vanto. I'm a project manager at the MBDA. I work in the space of creative and cultural industries. So I'm welcoming everybody. I'm going to be calling on Uluvuyo, who will come and do the opening. I'd like to make a formal apology. I did call the Ward Councillor, Thierry, who is not here at the moment. So then I'm going to call on Uluvuyo to come in and then do the opening and welcoming. Your floor.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Trust me, I won't be long. I never took a career in politics, so that was for a reason. Colleagues, you're welcome. We were just walking around the building here, and it kind of dawned on me, it's been so many years that this has been up and running. I remember I joined the MBDA in 2013, and this was spanking brand new back in the day. Yeah, time has gone by, lots has happened, and the manager and I were sharing some ideas on how to possibly, get more involved, let me put it that way, in really looking after this facility and everything that is happening around here. Route 67 beadwork still up there beautifully. So yeah, hopefully those of you who haven't booked an event here once in a while, maybe you check it out and come and support them. I think it's important to bring context to today. As the MBDA and as partners of this initiative, which we're hoping to grow the circle on, more inclusive, get more people involved. The important bit I think I'd like to highlight is that sometime in August, I think it was the second week of August, you can actually look at the date on the agreement, the 8th of August, we entered into an MOU after several deliberations with partners in the space of history, heritage, tourism, and the city improvement area. I refer now to the SRA. And really the intention was to develop a framework where we can collaborate around um, instead of maybe disjointed initiatives, but really you bring what you can bring so that we amplify the impact. So the purpose of the MOU was really to generate a framework for cooperation between these parties, and obviously, give some guidance in terms of governance, governance on projects and activities that we could pursue together. Some of those aspects that we looked at in terms of the scope of the activities as a collaboration in this MOU, there's 9 highlighted. The first one is to eliminate the destruction of the city's heritage. The second aspect is to ensure effective collaboration and coordination. That was very important. It's still very important. It's going to be important going forward. The third aspect is to enable the political will to develop new content. The city has built heritage, and brand positioning of a certain type to a certain degree. We need to grow it. We need to develop more. We need to add more to the basket of offerings and stay competitive. To diversify the economy of Nelson Mandela Bay. And again, this is realizing the potential that tourism has, heritage has, in terms of building on the economy, but also making sure that it's spread out. The sixth aspect in this agreement is to ensure inclusivity in the socio-economic clusters of the Bay. Inclusivity is quite key. Many of us will remember, it probably was 2015 or 16, when there was a bit of an uprising around statues and heritage, and whose heritage is it? And some of the initiatives the MBDA did, you'll see there were conversations with the Queen, statues of the old and the new, and bringing that conversation so that there's more inclusivity, but more importantly, more buy-in. And obviously, there's an economy here. I think we don't need to hide that. That tourism economy spreading and being more inclusive and accessible. The seventh aspect in the MOU talks to retaining, grow, and attracting new tourism revenues and markets. And again, we all know that there are many players in tourism space. The city has a department driving initiatives. There's private sector initiatives, but there's room for all of us to play a part in it, to grow and attract new tourism ventures. The eighth aspect is to ensure job creation for the youth in Nelson Mandela Bay. And I think some of the statistics, unemployment stats, pegged Nelson Mandela Bay nearly at 40% youth unemployment. Please verify that, fact check. That's my recollection. And a lot of these young people are creative. They are talented. You will see them around here. They create stuff here in this building and many other places. There is no way we cannot enhance and obviously make sure that we create spaces for them to trade and to be able to apply their talents for self growth. The ninth and the last aspect, which is obviously not conclusive or exhaustive, because as we said, this MOU is growing, and you will hear about the event that's being planned for later, which is also aiming to bring more participants. So I'm sure that this area or this scope of collaboration will grow as well. And so the last one is creating other forms of collaboration in the field of heritage preservation and promotion, tourism development and promotion, as well as area-based management bodies such as property owners, associations, and SRAs. We recently got contacted by the first SRA in the city, which is Richmond Hill. And for many years, I think, Richmond Hill has been doing really well. But like all things, there are ebbs and flows. I think there's a wave of crime that's rising in the city. There's issues that are happening. And they said, we want to be part of that MOU. We want to be involved. Sean, I was at the festival the one weekend. I mean, I haven't gone out in a while, you know, especially at night. That was a really good time. But the diversity of participants throughout the day, the music, I mean, they had all these different sounds along the road. I mean, it was amazing. And the food was cheap as well. So, I know I'm a cheapie. And yeah, so that it's great. So beyond the central SRA, that's doing as best as they can in this area. We need to, when we're thinking central, we need to be thinking the broader side of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting too much time, and again, I need to apologize for the non-presence of our chief executive, Mr. Kaba, and the chairperson, Ms. Glenda Perumal. They are in East London at the moment attending to the Provincial Investment Conference. They are there trying to sell our city, to sell the initiatives that we are doing here. And I'm sure they will log in and watch and in between things. And again, for those people who are listening to us on radio stations or watching via YouTube, either now or later, it's important to carry the message. The city's tourism and heritage is for all of us. And with those few words, thank you. You are welcome.
Thank you, LB, Mr. Chippy Food. Without wasting any further time, I'm going to call on Mr. Graham, who will speak to us on the purpose of our visit in this morning. Graham, come through.
Great, thank you very much, Yama. My name is Graham Taylor. I'm with the Historical Society of Port Elizabeth. We're an organization that's been around since 1959. And, we're one of the original heritage organizations in the city. And if I can just dwell briefly on the importance that voluntary organizations play, and the Historical Society is but one of those. And, the Historical Society dating back to then has made some significant contributions to heritage in the city. Everything from Castle Hill, the Duncan Restoration, and a whole range of other initiatives, including Van der Kemp's Kloof and the Bethelsdorp Arms Houses, and the story goes along. But the story is not about boasting about accomplishments or the relevance of a particular heritage. I think what the story was about was the power of those collaborative partnerships. And, in those early years, we went through very, very difficult teething processes. The removals that took place in Southend, that was fundamentally opposed by the Heritage Society, the Historical Society at the time. We also saw an initiative in the 1970s to totally cleanse Central of many of these heritage buildings. We saw a very concerted effort from the National Party government at the time to actually destroy the public library, to tear it down. The same was said with respect to City Hall. But what history has told us over the years is that when you start looking after your heritage assets, they deliver significant returns for the city. You go to any of the great cities in the world, that's precisely what has happened. Paris, New York, London, Moscow, you go through the list. After the French Revolution, they were trying to deface the Gorgons on the Notre Dame Cathedral and trying to destroy the cathedral. But within a very short period of time, they realized that this is one of our most important assets. And we see what heritage and tourism has done for Paris. And that's just one city. There's absolutely no reason why we cannot do the same in this particular city. The city is going through a process now of developing an economic development and growth strategy. And they're very careful to say that it's economic development and growth. So in other words, we develop for growth. It's not growth and development. And the central plank or tenet of that strategy is really about forging partnerships and collaborative alliances. That is the single biggest factor which can generate development and growth for the city. It's about setting aside differences. It's about working collaboratively. And I must say that it's been very encouraging. The Historical Society is not huge, but we've got a lot bigger over the recent past, but purely as a result of this collaboration and partnerships that we've started to form. And I think it's very visionary of the MBDA to actually reach out the hand through this MOU, which we signed in early August, and various institutional role players have started reaching out to each other and working together collaboratively to find solutions. What today is all about is about extending that memorandum of understanding to a broader cross-section of organizations. I was at the community dialogue last night, which the Herald hosted, and full credit for them to putting on I don't know if I should use the word show or an event of that nature. But it was a tense, very difficult conversation that was held. And there was also a sense of a lot of anger, but what was overwhelming to me was the lack of understanding often between the various parties. And it's often around interpretations of heritage, tourism, reality, and a growth path towards the future. The underlying point that came out of that community dialogue was we've got to rephrase the question. The question is not about can we justify whether to spend money on heritage. That's the wrong question. It was unanimous within that dialogue. The question was, why are we underfunding and why are we not putting more effort into heritage and tourism? And that is the challenge that I think that we were left with, and it's the challenge that we've got to move ahead going forward with, and the MOU that we signed is a very, very significant step in that right direction. Perhaps just a little bit around that, what we as the society have benefited, and I cannot really speak for the other parties to it. The underlying aspect was this ability to engage with other like-minded and even very different organizations. And in the process of that collaboration, we've worked out so many different ways in which to move ahead. Our society focus, we're a small society, but we've started working on this whole plague of metal theft that's been a blight on the metro. How on earth we can allow our heritage to be essentially stripped in the way it has, that's generating such small value for the people who are doing the stripping, and yet creating such destruction across the city. So we've started a concerted approach to remove the existing bronze, put it into safekeeping and replacing it with composite material. We're making progress certainly on the Donkin. And in that process, there's also very significant ways in which we are re-understanding or reimagining heritage and tourism going forward. And one of the significant lessons coming out of that is how, as a city, we have underplayed the value of our maritime heritage. This city, and if you take it back thousands of years, was really, and we're talking going way back into the early Stone Age eras. This city had a fundamental interaction with the marine space. And it was an interaction that is rich in detail, that deserves to be showcased. Not from 1820, not from 1652, but going back to the origins of anatomically modern humans. And we have a compelling story to tell to the international, national, and local community. As a direct result of that, of these partnerships, we're starting to move ahead on working on a project, a long-term project towards this maritime heritage, which I think even in our engagements with the tourism community, and thanks to Discovery Mandela Bay and Pemba and organizations such as that, where we've had incredibly positive feedback. The assets that we sit with in the city, that, what do they say? Familiarity breeds contempt. And we become overly familiar with assets that have tremendous value if we just unlock these partnerships. This is not me saying this. This is not the Historical Society saying this. But in 2016, there was an Urban Land Institute report which was done by international experts from across the world. You go Google, you or I, you can bring that report up. And it tells you exactly what I'm telling you. They tell the city this in 2016. Simply put, leverage your existing heritage and tourism assets, make the city livable, make it as a place, and connect the dots between all your heritage and tourism assets. These are very simple steps that need to be taken. We live in an era, I think, where politicians are leading us all to despair. And they're not going to provide the answers. I think civil society is going to provide the answers. And that's really about providing an entree to the event which the MBDA has agreed to host on the 25th of next month. It's really about a tourism and heritage in Indaba, but it's not about government, it's not about MBDA, and it's not about ANC or EFF or fighting with each other. But it's about an Indaba that takes an honest look at the heritage and tourism potential of the city by looking at what we have done over the last Heritage Month. Our track record is not great in terms of what has happened over this last month. In our individual areas, we've been trying. But as a collective, as a city, we have not made sufficient progress to leveraging the strengths that all these individual organizations have. And don't think it's only about a historical society. It's actually about all of us. Whether you're running an SRA, whether you're an individual citizen, you must get involved in fixing the city. That's the only way forward. And, we often talk about we're on a knife edge and, which way are we going to fall? There's only one way to fall. And the fall is that we talk to each other and we fix what we have, and this city takes its rightful place in terms of where we stand, not only on a national basis, but on an international basis. We forget that even from the days of anatomically modern humans 160,000 years ago, we played a significant role, and we have ever since, in developing a global maritime economy. We've played such a significant role in terms of in terms of this whole process of globalization, imperialism. And it's not about ripping down individual statues. It's about building understandings of where we are to take our rightful place in the global economy. In the 1860s, this city was torn apart but differences between people on where to build a pier for a harbour so that they can get the exports going. In 1860, the city's economy was bigger than Cape Town. It was the biggest in Southern Africa. We blew it then. We must not blow it again. So with that, I think it's really throwing a challenge to civil society, to government organizations. Government organizations, set aside your family problems. Come and join us on the 25th, and let's find a way in which we can develop and grow the heritage and tourism sector of the economy of the city. And I think I've said enough. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Graham. It's very true. Heritage is not an easy one. And I think our deepest issue with heritage is that we have to live in a city that is welcoming to all people. And I think our heartfelt anger and frustration is a city that must and needs to reflect all heritages. And I think it's very important that we start to then build on the new heritages that are reflective of everybody. And I think if you're looking into it, it's just a matter of, I need to walk into a city where I can see myself. It has to be welcoming to everybody who lives in this city. I did get a message from the ward councillor, Terry. I'm not sure if she's in the room, so that when we're closing the program, she can do at the close of the program. However, we are at the section where any questions or comments from the floor are allowed. I see one. LB?
Maybe we can just 1 2 1 2 mic test. Yo.
No,
Okay.
but
No, I think maybe the current signatories of the MOU
sure.
can maybe just join you there so people can see who they are.
Okay.
And we can then ask questions to any of them. I see Sean's here, Discover NMB. Graham is obviously here from Historical Society. The man is here.
Yeah, Lynn as
Do we
well.
have Haley from SRA? Anyone from SRA?
I haven't seen her.
Okay, we can deploy someone from SRA
Okay.
from the MBDA. Debbie will tell us who that is. But yeah, maybe those who are here can
Okay, cool.
can just maybe go up in front with Ovi.
Come, ladies and
We can
gentlemen.
see you. Thanks.
Okay. Come in. It's okay, my darling. Okay, I did see question on the floor. Put on. Mike, put on. Mike. Yes.
Oh, I thought you were asking me up front. I was going to say I'm not part of that. Yeah. I missed out on last night's. Okay, I'll wait for you guys to finish. I missed out on last night on attending the thingy on heritage, but I get a sense when we talk about heritage, we kind of talking about something that's been there and it's kind of like a dodo. Perhaps it needs to be revived. But as a township tourism a standpoint, we want to create an alive heritage and a future heritage. Because shamelessly, there's nothing to hold on to much, except of course struggle credentials and everything that goes with it. But infrastructural wise, we are lacking. One of the saddest moments, of course, is the red location and closed. It's so sore. It's painful. And the other day I was talking to the architect. What's his name? Mark. What's his name? and he was saying, here's an instance of why it can't happen in a township. I say, I think what we need to do is to create spaces where, you know, everything we envisage happens, so that even the people who are destructive become exhaustive. They get exhausted then. For instance, as a township tourism, we're looking at not to replicate what has happened at the Mendy Center in Mendy, the Mendy Land Arts Center, but we're looking at Fort, and there's a similar building which was meant to be a bottle store and make us drunk during that time, keep the natives drunk, and then they're docile and thingy. So we've been chasing this building. We've been wanting this building to turn it into a tourism hub where everything can take place, and also the practitioners, I mean the people involved in tourism and heritage, can come and use the space. I don't know how many years now. It is so galling. It is disheartening for a people who have got a mind and a purpose, and you know, things don't happen. You know, it's and you talk to everybody. It's years. I mean, I remember Kaba was just starting as what's that previous job he was handling? I actually spoke to him. First time, I think it was probably the first day he was in office. I still remember he was here in town somewhere. He was not in a fancy office at that matter. And I told him. And before him, I had spoken to, what's his name, the first one, MBDA, the fellow, PLanto, you know? And nothing happens. I mean, we keep on talking the same. It is so disheartening what's happening in our city. You know, I hear you talking about great cities, and guess what? What makes those great cities become great cities is because things happen. Thabo Mbeki was talking about the other day that one of the things is the plans are never implemented. It's just talk. Sorry, I'm kind of emotional now.
Okay, I'm not sure if that needs a response from any of us. Okay. Bulungelo, yeah.
For me, my name is Lungelo from Langton Tours. I think for me, I caught you in the middle on the speech. You talk about people, organizations. We have different ideas with positive ideas. I mean, different, whatever, but positive ideas. I think there's been a lack in terms of us sharing on the ideas that we want to do for the city. There's been a little bit of a pull apart, you know. Although we all want the city, it was, for an example, when we get that call and the client says, okay, after that, what do we do? You know, we don't want to be seen as a one-night city that when people come in and then, okay, we've done that, what else do we do? You know, hence as organizations, we need to share in this region. Like for example, one of the things that is really popular in Cape Town is a walking tour at Langa. It is a known fact every day. It's like in Langa, if there's no tourists walking in the township, it's like a doomsday. Why can't we have something like that in our own township? We have ideas to put something forward. Like the other thing I was saying, putting forward, like the way our townships were created were to have two exits because of apartheid rules. So it has become easier for us to beautify our townships if we want to. If you decide to beautify Zide, you'll find out you'll have an exit, two exits, one at near the University East and one at Kinako. Same with New Brighton. It's not an easy, it's not a struggle to actually identify places that we can beautify. when you're gonna do a township tour, you're like thinking, okay, I'm coming from the city. You want to say, now we have arrived in New Brighton, which direction do you take? Because the debt that you face as you come in, it becomes a lot from somebody whom you have toured the inner city for 3 hours in the morning, beautiful places. Suddenly you travel to the other side of R72. Suddenly you get a gloomier city. I think I want to concur with you that organization, different organization, whatever we think on, but with positive ideas, we need to meet. You know, we all have these ideas that I support. I remember at the start of the year, we had a workshop, or I don't know what I call it, Indaba, about sport tourism at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium. I remember there was a quotation that said, a smart city is a sport tourism city, that we have to pursue as much as we can. So I'm saying we need to share these ideas. Thank you.
Understood. Budam, any comments from the floor? Okay, any comments? Okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lola. I am a resident of Richmond Hill. I'm also doing my master's research, and my passion is the cemeteries in the city. Anyway, my question is, what does collaboration look like between the different groups? Does that mean getting together once a month or every couple of months and forming a task force to appeal to? Obviously, local government cares. How do we make provincial government? How do we make national government care? So what does collaboration look like? Because we throw the word around a lot, but like practically, what are we doing? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Leila. It's a very good question, and I'll come back to it. I'll try and answer all three comments and questions. What does collaboration look like? Doesn't look like a workshop. It doesn't look like two people talking to each other. Collaboration is where you see an outcome, which is tangible, positive results. That is true collaboration. How you get those tangible outcomes and results is about forming partnerships, leveraging the assets of what you've got in your respective spheres. We don't have a heck of a lot, we've got a little bit of in the bank account as a society, but we make up for that with sheer enthusiasm and passion for the city. And you put those different assets together. We've all got very, very different assets. We put it together, you collaborate around those assets, and you deliver a product which is greater than the sum of the parts. And that's, I think, what collaboration is talking about. The comments that the gentleman from Township Tourism had around the infrastructure. Yes, infrastructure is important. But, in my humble opinion, and I think the science will back it up as well, tourism and heritage is 90% people and passion and 10% about infrastructure investments. We've got to get our heads right in terms of, it's not about creating a heritage and tourism city for people outside of the city. This is about creating an asset, a livable city for ourselves. There is no point in trying to push heritage and tourism if it's not safe to walk on the streets. We saw very unfortunate incidents in the recent past. How are we going to fix that? It's not about more bobbies on the beat or more cameras or you name it. It's about forming collaboration and a united effort to address the crime and grime issue and to really move ahead and find solutions. And I think simply put, if we can channel that enthusiasm, and what you've pointed towards is getting people to do things positively, I think we can have very tangible outcomes following that Indaba. But I think the important point is that Indaba doesn't stop when the coffee and the cookies or whatever else is finished. It's the start of actually generating some positive outcomes that have real, tangible economic returns for the city. Thanks. I don't know if anybody else wants to add.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Haller from the Heritage Trust. Basically, what Graham said was what I wanted to say. And another thing, I just feel if we don't have the departments, the metro departments, with us on these, whatever we decide to do, we're never going to get anywhere. That's my, what do you call it, my thinking. Because Simpiwe and myself have had numerous meetings with various departments concerning heritage, historic, or whatever. And they're not interested. How are we going to get them interested? How are we can do all what we can on the ground here, but if we don't have the metro behind us, what is it going to happen? I don't know. That's just what I'm saying. Thank you.
Morning, folks. Lucky to see all of you. I think just two things. I agree with Lynn. Hopefully that will provide, the Indaba will provide that link and take specific projects maybe and follow them up. Lungela, guys, I agree with you that if I could, I'd make half of that Indaba about township tourism. And we've got to make progress on it. It's a different topic, and we'll address it on a different time. Just to say, for instance, in 2019, in the whole of the metro, there were only 5 products in our townships getting regular tourists coming into them. So it's long overdue, and that partnership is needed. Then just with the collaboration, simple example, Graham has this vision of a maritime library and trail. The Historic Society have developed that, and Graham with great passion. He took quite a few of us on a walk of that about 2 months ago and told us the vision and showed us the places and that. From a Discover Mandela Bay point of view, within 2 or 3 weeks, we had Graham speaking to all of our members, telling them about it, enthusing them about it. And we have now gotten fully behind that as well, as we hope to and are trying to with township tourism. And it just develops from there. I think, the same in all of the areas. Part of that is the Mendy Memorial, and I agree, the memorial needs more around it. We've got opportunities to take those anchors and attach more to them. So it is positive. It's not something that is just going to say, hey, we talk together and Simpiwe and the guys we meet at coffee shops. There's a very definite, their aims, but passion behind it. And I think that's the most important thing that MBDA have created for us, is there are lots of passionate people, and they've been brought together now. And this will expand. And I think that Indaba, at the end of the month, which the whole team is going to be working on, is going to be scary awesome. I just think, as Lynn has said, part of the absolute success factors of that is the municipal departments coming on board and getting as enthusiastic as we are about tourism and heritage.
Yeah, Lynn prompted me in Sean's comments, if I could just belabor you for a few seconds more and not take too much more of your time. The foundation of the South African Constitution is built around cooperative governance. If we don't get our cooperative governance right, Government departments are notorious for working in silos for themselves and for whatever rent-seeking activities. We can pass as much legislation and instructions as you want to. It is not going to work and get those officials out from behind their desks unless one thing happens. And that one thing is for civil society, being the people who fund this government, who put forward the rates and taxes, who pay our taxes diligently as students, well, most of us anyway, and that we get together and say, enough, let's sort this out. Let's make our taxpayers' money work, and let's get the type of products that we deserve in the city. Cooperative governance is not written in a constitution. Cooperative governance is about what gets done on the ground, and civil society must pull together and make sure that government exercises its mandate. If you have family problems, sort them out. And if you can't sort them out, we'll come and be a marriage counselor for you. But it's imperative, in the interests of society, that civil society takes a very strong stand on these issues. The final comment I'd make is around the township tourism. I mean, we went on a wonderful walk in the New Brighton area, and it's an absolute tragedy to see those millions of rands spent on infrastructure that's laying idle. But the point I wanted to make about the potential there, if people simply put together, there was an impromptu bit of theatre that was given, and it all revolved around John Carney, Winston Chawner, Athol Fugard, and the role that played with the Serpent Players. And it's an amazing story, for goodness sake. Africa's greatest playwright was incubated in this little public library, in the most dreary of apartheid-oppressed industrial landscapes. He has delivered jewels that the world appreciates and we underappreciate. To act that out within those environments is a product that is sellable par excellence. But the only way we're going to get that onto an international stage is when we start becoming proud of ourselves, our products, and the work that we do. And that's infinitely attainable. Thank you.
Good morning. I haven't seen some of you. Good morning. My name is Debbie Hendricks. I'm responsible for operations at the MBDA. So the MBDA is also a signatory to the agreement. And what we have sought to do is simply to start something, to start a conversation, bring like-minded people together. And it is not all-encompassing, it's not finite. It is just an agreement to say, let us put heads together. So as the MBDA, there's a lot of requests that are coming to us. Can you please assist us with this? Can you fund this? We want to do this, etc. So as you know, MBDA has got a very specific mandate. We take our directive politically, administratively from the city. We are a child of a parent municipality. So our mandate, most of our funding, if not 99% of our funding, comes from the city. So we are at the behest of the municipality, where we have done interventions, whether in the townships, Singapi Street, Kakahuli Centre, Helenvale, whatever, is on instruction of on the instruction of the municipality. So I just wanted to make clear, so how do we fit in here? So yes, we've all seen all the stuff that's happening in the paper, but that is all politics, and we are putting heads down. Work is continuing as far as we're concerned. Graham, we might have to take you up on the marriage counselling offer. Things are a bit tense, but we are expecting the dust must settle and the work must continue. That's where our mindset is. That's where we are continuing with the stuff that we have set out for the year to do, and we have to account to our principals on what we're doing with our budgets and what we're doing with the targets that we've set and the plans that we've made. So we're very much there. I wanted to just confirm that there's no in limbo situation at MBDA as far as the work is concerned. Governance-wise, there is some issues, but I didn't want to talk about that. I just, people are coming to me asking questions, oh, what's going on and what's going on? We're here to talk about this Indaba. All we are saying is we're creating a platform to expand the conversation. So since signing the agreement, there's a lot of people that have shown interest. How do we become part of this? Why were we not invited? Why is it that we just started something, and obviously that is having the intended effect of sparking interest, and that there are actually people that are serious about doing something. So our hope is from the Indaba that we would actually come up with a specific action plan. We want to know who's doing what. We want to have a database of every activity, every role player, every contribution that can be made. I mean, I have this thing, it's just my idea, but I mean, out of that, if we can develop a calendar of a particular product for every day of the year, 365 day, you can actually see, okay, no, Zweli's Tavern is having a jazz concert on this day. You can actually go to the calendar and see who is showcasing on a particular day or particular, so that it's inclusive, but it's also bringing in the different stories. To me, heritage and culture is the stories of who we are. It might be depicted in different ways, but it's my family story and your family story. Good or bad. It's all our stories, and how do we make space for each other's stories? How do we give everybody a voice for their stories? And if we can package that, I always say, Cape Town will take, that mountain. They package the hell out of that mountain. We have the Barkens Valley. It's such a huge asset. Half of the city does not know about it. They don't know how important that is for the city, etc. We're so bad at packaging things. You go to Hermanus, they have a symbol of is it a whale or a penguin? One of these two. Everything there is a whale everywhere. We have so much more. We have assets, resources, iconic features that are of international interest, international standing. We are just not working together to showcase it, to brag about it, to package it, etc. So, MBDA, let me be honest, we don't have the resources to fund all of this. We're creating a platform to start a conversation, keep it going, let us have a place. We will be the coordinating point. I always say, do you know how sometimes difficult it is to call a meeting? That is half the work, is getting people together to talk about a topic and set an agenda. No, I can't, I'm out of town. I don't like this one. If this one is going to be there, I'm not going to be there. I can do it this week, but not next week. My cat has just had kittens. I can't come. So half of the stuff is getting the role players together. That has been why we're saying, let us have an Indaba. Let's have an opportunity for people to showcase what it is, and let's start having those difficult conversations. Let's create the platform for the difficult conversations. We are not going to move until we find ourselves building bridges and understanding. And there's an interesting book by Adam Kahane. It says, the title is Collaborating with the Enemy. We don't have to like each other. We just have to agree on a joint outcome. I have to park my personal issues, but for the greater good, we have to agree on an outcome. We can learn a lot from each other. So that's all MBDA is saying. We want to play a facilitative role. We also have our own interests. So yes, we've got township projects. We have inner city objectives that we need to achieve. We realize we can't do it alone. So how do we bring the people, the correct people in the room to help us achieve all our objectives? Including the mandate of the MBDA, which is township regeneration, inner city refurbishment and upgrade. So it ticks all our boxes, but we also realize it's actually not for us to do. And as far as we will take up the conversation with the relevant directorates and actually make work of it between now and the Indaba to get them to participate. I think there is a recognition that we have to work together. We will do the groundwork to make sure that they are there on the day. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say for now. You want to give the details? 25th of October, but is there a program? Can we issue something already or not yet?
121. Can I come in there,
Can
Ovi?
I just say something? Sorry?
Okay. The date is the 25th of October. I don't think we've announced a venue yet. That's work in progress. The theme for the summit or the Indaba is establishing partnerships, making heritage and tourism work for social, spatial, and economic growth. That is the theme. And the issue I raised my hand for, Ovi, if I may interrupt, is just maybe to let colleagues understand that between now and then, there are several interactions that are happening. Some of them we can't name them, but there are many parastatals who own properties in the inner city, down by the coast, by the harbor. We're having serious one-on-one meetings already. So there may be one-on-one bilaterals with other organizations, like my good friends and Kulua next to me, pre that event on the 25th. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, that is being done, leading to the 25th. Thank you, Chair.
I might be out of turn here. I would just like to ask the MBDA, is there no way that we can move the sculptures here in the Athenaeum down to the city centre, which was the original plan for the conversations with the Queen? I don't know who were the MBDA behind that project. I don't know why they've been sitting here ever since when? 2015. They need to be on the city centre from a tourism point of view, so that we can talk about them to the tourists instead of having to come up here and the Athenaeum to be open for us to bring them in to talk to them. So if I may ask if perhaps somebody could look into that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if I could just come in on that question. And, as a society, we've been quite adamant that we don't want to be prescriptive on the content of the actual Indaba. The thinking behind it is draw a line in the sand. That's where we want to meet. In the process of running up to there, and I think the parameters are very broad, is to reflect in terms of where we are and where we want to be, in simple terms. Please come with your ideas and your contributions between now and the 25th. There will be a number of forums, I think, which Livuyo has alluded to, where you can bring that input and shape the agenda. But by the 25th, we want a participative agenda formulated so that we can really get down to the concrete types of issues. What Lynn talked about, is one of 1,000 in the city that probably need to be addressed in some way. We're never going to solve those issues on our own. We will only be able to solve them collaboratively, and the solutions are there, I do believe. Thank you.
Okay, I think on that note, I'm going to call on the Ward Councillor, Councillor Terry. I think we are at the end of the program. We did say from 10 until 11, so I don't want to waste any more of your time. So please, Councillor, come through.
Molweni nonke. Goeiemôre. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and of course, thank you very much for being here. Apologies for being late, but single motherhood, kunzima mos. But I've been listening to all of the comments, and I think that this Indaba that's going to be on the 25th is very exciting. Gqeberha and surrounds brings the majority of the economy in terms of tourism for the entire province. And the metro is not getting enough support from provincial or national heritage departments to develop this. And that is why I think that at this Indaba, we have to have representatives from national and province, and also corporate investors and corporate sponsors. So those banks and companies that say that they appreciate our heritage and things like that, they must be invited to this, because as we know, there isn't enough funding. That's always the complaint. There's no budget, and we don't want to make that the excuse after this Indaba when everybody shared these great ideas. The metro has a responsibility in terms of creating clean and safe spaces. I heard the comment that, you know, it's 90% passion and 10% infrastructure. And that is true. That's what gets it to work. But you aren't going to have anyone come to those spaces if they are not clean and safe. If we don't have those areas clean and safe, no one is going to come to those places. And right now, they are at risk. At our tourist sites, you are bound to see rats and tsotsis. Those have become part of our tourism offering. You're going to see mpukumos, and you are going to be at risk of a tsotsi coming to steal from you. That is unacceptable, and that has to be addressed now. And law enforcement departments, etc., need to stop pointing fingers and say, no, 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 it's the MBDA. No, 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 it's Mandela Bay. And then in the departments, they say, no, that's safety and security. No, it's Metro Police. No, it's SAPS. This is the problem. So before we even have that Indaba about on the 25th, we have to get the security and the safety and the cleanliness of anywhere where our tourists are going to go. And I'm talking about all. We mustn't forget the township economy. That in itself is a unique offering. You know, Mzansi, we are lucky. People come here for our natural resources and our heritage. We are the most diverse, I would say, in the world. We are. I mean, everything that we have to offer. So people have to stop saying, it's not us, it's someone else. And I think that we need to engage. I've had meetings with all security stakeholders around a table before, including departments of public health, safety and security, metro, immigration, all of these. And they all say, we are too busy, or we don't have the people or the vehicles. So all of those, we need to stop saying, okay, what can't you do? And they need to answer, what can you do? Otherwise, we're not interested. You must come to us and tell us what you can do. When we invite these people, provincial, national, etc., they mustn't send seat warmers. You know, when you ask a department, please, can you come and participate in our Indaba? They will send some intern to a secretary, to a something, just to sit there. No, we were there, we were represented. Asifun, we want someone who is a decision maker represented from those departments and nothing less. Another thing, and it's part of this collaboration, is one of the things that I've mentioned earlier is not only including all of the stakeholders in terms of the companies, the offerings, all of the stakeholders who are involved, the heritage, the history, etc. But we need to reach out to our individual citizens. They might know stories that we don't. They might know a story that we don't. So in my engagement around this ward, I found, well, actually Simpiwe, introduced me to the Mfengu burial site, which is basically half under Richmond Park, half next to, half whatever. There isn't even, those lentuka, those like clear plastic perspex things where you can have photographs, because there are artistic impressions and some photographs of once upon a time. And the story of that area. It doesn't take a lot of money to put up something to commemorate that. Recently, the Hindi temple in Upper Valley Road, they had every 12 years, a large number of people come together. And because they believe that, you know, they take all this time taking the energy out, they bring all of these people in to give that energy back. And it's a lot of praying and enjoying and dancing and eating and all of that to give that energy back into the temple. And that temple and many more of the mosques around it survived the forced removals. That is something that we don't talk about. And we have 2 cathedrals in, you know, such close proximity to each other. That is a unique offering. You know, what was the first church that was in the township areas? There are stories we can tell that we are not doing. But the last thing I just want to say is, leading up to the 25th, and you've touched on it, please, let us not have an Indaba about an Indaba about an Indaba. At the end of this Indaba, there must be a who and a what and a when. Ka. Otherwise, we are and how much and where's it going to come from? If we do not have those decided, at least the last draft before final, then it's going to be a waste of money and a waste of time. So what I'd like to encourage is that social media campaign and that invitation to all the stakeholders, all of the people who have said, okay, why wasn't I there, or whatever, that everybody be invited to present something. Not to come and talk there about what should we talk about, but if you've got a plan, come and show and say, right, this is the Hindi temple, and we need to declare it as a heritage site, and we need to include it into a religious tour. Who, you know, that can be, and this is the proposed route or whatever, that kind of thing. So you know where it's going to fit in. And that is what I hope that anyone who's going to be attending on the 25th can do. Thank you very much for everything that you've said, and looking forward to seeing you on the 25th. Engos.